welcome to Are We There Yet? MarketScale's online video podcast series that explores the most exciting things happening in the world of transportation and mobility. My name is Grant Harrell, and as your host, I enjoy the opportunity to speak with leaders within transportation, truly learning about what's at the cutting edge of technology today. And I'm really excited today. There's so much happening within this electrification revolution that we're seeing within all of transportation, but especially within automotive. And so I'm really excited for the chance today to learn about really what's happening within this electrification movement within automotive. We all hear so much within media and from the manufacturers and leaders within the industry. And I can say that it's a little bit hard to kind of separate fact from fiction. And so I have an individual here today that's kind enough to take the time to talk that I think is going to help us really make sense of that and really learn about really what's happening within this electrification movement within automotive. And so here today to speak with us about that is Dr. Veronika Wright, and really excited to have the chance to speak today and learn a little bit more about the company and her and to share some insights with us. So Veronika, hello and welcome to Are We There Yet?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Very excited to talk to you today.
Well, thank you so much. Well, I've become a big fan of Electrified Veronika, I must admit, and just really appreciate you taking the time to talk. And I'll share, Veronika, my introduction to you. I was checking out some stuff on YouTube, and it must know that I'm interested within this electrification revolution and that I'm also really interested in Jeeps. I've had a few Jeeps myself, and so one of your videos came up where you were electrifying a 1999 Jeep Wrangler, and I couldn't believe it, and I've been just a big fan ever since then. So really, really cool to see that. And so appreciate you taking some time to stop by and talk. And so I'd love to learn, a little bit more about you and about the organization, and really excited to ask you some questions about stuff that's happening in the industry. But I must share first a little bit for the audience members that aren't familiar with you. Dr. Veronika Wright, you are the owner of the social enterprise Electrified Veronika. And it's tough for me to just kind of summarize everything that you do because you do so much. You're a content creator. You're an author, a published author of an incredible book, The Drive to Electric. You're an electrification consultant. You have a PhD in technical physics. You're an incredible public speaker. And so you're involved in so many different exciting areas. And so I'd love to just ask today, recently, would you mind telling us a little bit more about what you're up to? What are some of the projects that you're working on?
Absolutely. Even for me, it's a little bit hard to tell everybody what I'm doing. I think I'm getting bored very quick, so I always need to do something new. That's at least something that my former employer told me.
Yes, I can relate to that.
I want to do something new, but it's very exciting. And 2 years ago, I started this journey as Electrified Veronika, short EV. Mm-hmm. When I moved to the US. So originally I'm from Austria. I grew up just 20 minutes apart where Arnold Schwarzenegger grew up. Wow. Although I don't have this very, very strong accent, I hope.
You don't.
And then, 2 years ago, I moved to the US here in Wisconsin and started Electrified Veronika. And since then, I am consulting in the electric vehicle and battery area, and then also maintaining lots and lots of social media activities. Yeah. So sharing projects that we're working on, such as you mentioned, electrifying a 99 Jeep Wrangler from combustion engine to all electric, all doing this in our garage. Wow. And it's quite fun. Also, since we moved here, we got electric cars, we put solar on our roof. So we are really trying to walk the walk and see, hey, does this work for us? Where are the limitations? Where are the opportunities?
Definitely. I love that you chose a 1999 Jeep Wrangler. I love the Wranglers. I especially love kind of that generation. Why'd you pick a 1999 Jeep Wrangler to electrify?
You might be a little bit surprised, but this is me going back now to Austria, growing up and watching the TV show Gilmore Girls. And in this show, they have this Jeep, a 1999 Jeep Wrangler in the Sahara color. And I just love the show. And for me, it was always like, oh, yeah, this is how American people live. Yes. And I just love it. And then I came here. I never even had a car before. in Europe.
Hmm.
In my hometown, you would use public transportation. You wouldn't really need a car. But when I moved to the US, I realized, okay, distances are a little bit larger. You really need a car here. There was no electric car that I liked. So I thought we were working with my husband on a car, and I was like, hey, do you think we can electrify a Jeep? He was like, sure. And yeah. So then
Wow.
we did a LinkedIn post, actually, and we said, hey, we're looking for a 99 Jeep Wrangler. Anybody knows of anybody who wants to sell it? And a couple months later, we got the Jeep and we started the journey, and it's quite exciting because nobody has really done this before. You can't like Google it or look it up. And
Yeah.
so we really try to figure out everything by ourselves.
Very cool. Well, thank God for the Gilmore Girls and for using a Sahara-colored 1999 Jeep Wrangler within the series so that we could benefit now in 2023 from getting to watch you electrify the Jeep Wrangler. That's incredible. And Jeep has such an amazing community. As I shared, I'm a big fan of Jeep. I've owned a few Jeeps. I have a 97 Jeep Cherokee myself that I've had for 20 years, and I love it. And one thing that I enjoy about it is that Jeep has a community. Have you seen that as you selected the Jeep Wrangler to electrify? I'm sure you've piqued some interest within the Jeep community about what you're doing.
Absolutely. I didn't grow up with anything like this Jeep mentality.
Yeah.
I didn't do it for the Jeep brand, but
Hmm.
as soon as I went out there and shared the project, I started getting part of this community, and it's amazing.
Hmm.
Um, Again, like we started this 2 years ago, and I was expecting people, maybe not all of them, it's quite a polarizing topic, especially for the Jeep community.
Yeah.
Jeep as a brand, it's all about, going off road and, engine sounds and being free and the spirit. So definitely, we had some pushback in the beginning, but people then realized, okay, we're doing it the right way from a technical perspective.
Yeah.
We're really keeping the original functionality, like the selectable 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive. We kept the stock transfer case. So then after all, we really got a huge appreciation from the Jeep community. So it's really nice to see.
Yeah. I love to hear that. And you did that. I think you kind of kept, what was best and kind of capabilities of the Jeep Wrangler that people love so much, but have improved it, with electrifying it. So this is kind of like the best Jeep ever now. So, that really makes me think too. I find it really interesting that you chose the Wrangler because it does have, that community, and it's kind of different than what one might think of the typical, EV community. Jeep wouldn't necessarily, come to mind. And so it's interesting to me. Do you find that, that maybe you can't just kind of typecast, EV owners, the type of people that are going, electric right now? It doesn't kind of fit into that mold that one might think, that maybe it's a little bit more, broad to that, and electrification has application into all sorts of different communities, like Jeep owners, for example.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, I couldn't have picked a worse vehicle to electrify.
Mm.
If you think about aerodynamics, efficiency, space, where to
Yeah.
put batteries, it is really one of the worst cars to make electric.
Yeah.
So, but the fact that we could do it also shows that it's possible. And yeah, if we think about the EV mentality, like 2 years ago, I would say if you talk about electric vehicles, it's mainly Tesla, right?
Hmm.
And the
Hmm.
Tesla community also has their own spirit, I would
Yeah.
say, and maybe different motivation than people that are that like Jeeps.
Hmm.
But I have to say, I'm surprised. There is more and more people very open-minded in the Jeep community towards
Yeah.
electrification and seeing the benefits. And, I'm getting like one or two requests almost every week of people sending me their pictures of their Jeeps and saying, hey, I want to do the same. And they're seeing certain benefits to it. And they want to keep their Jeeps alive.
Hmm.
We see it worldwide that everybody is transitioning to EVs. And at some point, we don't know if it will happen in the US in all areas and when it will happen, but they start talking about banning ICE cars. And so many people are thinking, okay, I can maintain my car. I can keep this Jeep by electrifying it.
Yes. That's a great point. Yeah, I love what Jeep is doing with some of the newer models and electric options that are becoming available on some of the newer models, the Wrangler in particular. But I think this idea of being able to keep that 99 Jeep or my 97 Cherokee, forever and maybe electrify it is really, really cool. So I love that. And beyond just all of that, I think it's such an incredible demonstration of your capabilities and your knowledge. And it's amazing, some of those videos where you're, in kind of the engine compartment and working on the design, of the battery and integrating all the different technologies within it is amazing. So Veronika, I mean, you're incredible to be, in there and doing it yourself. It's really, really amazing. So
I would say we took it a little bit to the extreme.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a battery person, so that's my background.
Yeah.
And so we decided to also build our own batteries. So, we have seen other conversions, not cheap, but other brands, and people would mostly use Tesla modules to
Yep.
do those conversions. But in our case, since I'm also a huge fan of circular economy and I wanted to investigate, hey, is it actually possible to reuse batteries from another EV and give them a second life? So not only give a second life to the Jeep itself, but also using used batteries. And so this is what we did. We actually used batteries from a Mustang Mach-E, from a crashed one, but the batteries are still good, but they're a little bit older, but that's okay for us. And so we took those batteries out of the car, out of the Ford Mustang Mach-E, we disassembled them into the cell level, and then really built our own batteries and the own thermal management system. So that's quite fun.
It is a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of fun to watch, and the audience and the community agrees. I've seen some comments on your videos that just you've got individuals out there just binge watching the series and all of the content you produce because you've got us hooked, and it's amazing to watch. And I think to your point, and I think to really just give you credit in terms of what's involved, in the Wrangler electrification. I mean, you're talking, as you shared, reusing products and technologies, from other vehicles, and battery redesign, and front battery assembly, and you're in there cleaning and spraying and upgrading and working on acceleration and the braking and the steering and the motoring and the wiring. I mean, it's amazing, what you're doing. So that's a lot of fun to watch, and I can imagine that in and of itself would be for many a full-time job, just in there working with the Jeep. But for you, it's not. It's just, one of the many projects that you have going on right now. And so, we've talked a little bit about some of the incredible things that you're doing on social media and within thought leadership. And I'd love to learn a little bit more. In addition to that, you have a really successful consulting practice. And within your practice, you're helping companies, get into EV and get into the battery space. And you're working on projects, with, pre-owned EV vehicle sales, for example. And so have a lot of really exciting things going on within your consulting practice. Would you mind maybe just, touching on a little bit of some of the focus areas or even current projects within the consulting practice that you're working on and some of the capabilities that you offer within that arm of the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So since 2 years now. So before I started my own adventure, I worked for a company called AVL with their headquarters in Austria. And I started there really on the automotive group and the battery team and started building up my expertise, working internationally with lots of customers, really from car makers to battery manufacturers to recycling companies. And that was a lot of fun, developed my passion for that area, and then went ahead and decided to do it on my own. And so for 2 years now, I'm working with different companies. I would say really, if you think about circular economy, that starts where do raw materials come from to make the batteries, like nickel, manganese, cobalt, all those. How do we extract them? Then building the batteries, integrating the batteries into the cars, reusing the batteries for a second life until recycling. And so I have touched a lot of those areas in my career. And so the consulting projects that I do are with different stakeholders along this circular economy picture. And turns out that there is a lot of companies, either service providers or technology companies, startups, they have a certain technology. Maybe they used it previously in other areas, of course, internal combustion engine areas and so on. And now they want to get into the EV and battery space. Mm-hmm. So I work a lot with companies to assess their technology and see where can we use it in the battery and EV space, doing product market fits, assessing their technology, making the fit with what the market needs, setting up roadmaps, strategic roadmaps for them. So it's quite a lot of fun. And one of the projects I am very passionate about, the life cycle of batteries and aging of batteries is very, very important for electric cars. When you have a new electric car, you have what we call 100% state of health and this 100% range, which is, an average of 300 miles. And then once we drive electric cars, batteries are losing a certain capacity and are also losing the range. And it's surprising, but there is no standardization yet out there to define what is the battery health after a couple of years. And this directly turns into what is the value of a used electric car. And so I worked with a couple companies now to kind of develop technologies or services they can offer to people that want to sell their EVs, to assess the health of the battery, the value of the electric car. We're talking about health certificates that you can get, so you can sell your EVs.
Wow. That's fascinating. And what a need for that, because the time is now where we're starting to see some of these vehicles that were purchased new, maybe just a few years ago, that are becoming available on the pre-owned vehicle market. And a lot of these dealers, for example, they just really aren't equipped to take those vehicles in on trade in terms of really, having an accurate value. And so I think the idea of kind of a certification program, kind of a health status, on the vehicles is very much needed, within the industry. So I'm really excited to hear that that's a project that you're working on right now. Kind of within that and talking about just kind of, the need for more education within the market and, within pre-owned EVs, for example, we hear a lot in the media, and it's hard to know, as I kind of alluded to, what's fact or what's fiction, as you shared in terms of what's a vehicle really worth, a pre-owned EV, what's the stability, what's the health of it after a few years, and even things, right now we hear a lot of messaging in terms of, the battery fires, associated with electric vehicles, and just kind of the, current status of battery technology, and are we moving towards some sort of big, kind of breakthrough within battery technology. So I'd love to separate, some of kind of the fact from fiction. And so one thing I'm curious about is, this issue of EV fires, and just how much of an issue that really is. Would you mind maybe just commenting on that and maybe educating us a little bit about, the risk of fires, associated with batteries within, EVs, or maybe just tell us a little bit about really what's going on with that right now within the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of my main motivation why I'm sharing so much on social media is, like you said, to help figure out what is fact and what is fiction, because EVs, batteries, it's such a hot topic. We see articles everywhere and there's such a hype for it. And I see a lot of really just wrong media articles out there. And that's a pity. And then, it is shared on TikTok and it goes viral and there is a next EV battery fire. But actually, if you look at it, it's not even an electric car. So unfortunately, there is a lot of misinformation out there. For whatever reason, but I try a lot to demystify this. And, the thing with electric car fires, if you look a little bit into statistics, and of course, right now we don't have so many EVs on the road as combustion engine cars, but if you really do the maths, the probability for an electric car to catch fire is very, very low. So I don't know if you maybe have seen, I think now a year ago, there was a huge recall of Hyundai. Because of an EV fire risk. So they really recalled I think 60,000 vehicles because 5 had a fire. So if you really take it down to a probability for a single cell, a battery cell, to go into an EV fire, then it's like 0.0006%. So it's very rare to happen. But when it happens, and we come back to probably people not educated well enough, a lot of like even fire departments, they don't know how to react yet. There is a lot of research right now. What is the best thing to do when there is a fire? And I also offer courses for that. So because I have investigated that a lot. And, there's options from just letting it burn down to putting water on it. But actually, if you put water on it, it's like, if you have an EV battery pack, it consists of several cells. Like it can be 100, 200, 300 individual cells. And how an EV fire starts is one single cell goes into what we call a thermal runaway. It's basically an internal short. This cell gets super hot and gas is ejected and potentially a fire evolves. But it's like one cell. And then this heat is kind of transferred to the next cell. And so this takes a little bit of time, and then it actually turns into a chain reaction where one after the other, the cells are kind of going into this reaction. So this is actually the reason why it takes a longer time to put the fire out, because we're looking at a chain reaction. It's not an instantaneous fire like with a combustion engine car. It's more like it takes time. So, the best thing that you can do, if you can, you just leave the car alone and let it burn down. Then there is other things to do, like putting. So I've worked a little bit with the Las Vegas Convention Center and educating them, because they have more and more events where they have electric cars inside. Yeah. And, to minimize the fire risk, what can you do then? There are like fire blankets that you can put on top of a car to kind of navigate through that. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. That's really educational. Well, I would love, to ask a question, because I think that you're probably one of the most qualified individuals, to answer this question, or maybe to educate us a little bit, on kind of an individual level. So as a consumer, in the market for an EV, I'm considering going electric myself, and I'm having a difficult time. There's so many options right now. There's, within, nearly every manufacturer has an EV option now, and many new ones kind of coming online. And we hear a lot about range and about advancements in battery technologies. And so, for me, I'm trying to understand, okay, so right now, June 2023, is it a good time to go ahead and go electric? Should I hold off for another, 6 months for some sort of a big development? So, all of that being said, as an individual, as a consumer that's considering going electric, I'd love to get your thoughts on that and ask you, are we there yet? Is it a good time to go electric, or should I hold out for some sort of big development?
Yes. Do you want to wait for the next breakthrough in battery technology?
Well, I'd be curious, what and when that next breakthrough might happen.
Yes, I get that question a lot, and it's understandable. For some people, EVs seem to be a very, very new thing. For others, they've been out there for a long time. So going back a couple of years, we talked about, okay, there was mainly Tesla, right? And now it's great to see that all the legacy automakers are either forced to or willingly catching up on getting some electric cars out there. So we have a lot of options. That's amazing. Yeah. And very often then online, I see comments, oh no, I want to hold off because I will wait until we have solid state batteries, because then life is so much better, range is so much better, and it's much safer, and so on. So sometimes I see people waiting for this next breakthrough. But, in my opinion, being so much involved in industry, I'm looking at battery technology and battery science and really all that almost every day. And maybe I have to disappoint a couple of people. There will not be a breakthrough within the next couple of years where all of a sudden we will have so much more range or anything like this. So I think it's really, really the right time to go electric. Even in the US, because, I have a very international picture. I still also do a lot of not only consulting, but spend a lot of my private time in Europe. Sometimes they are a little bit further already with the EV adoption there, especially in Scandinavia, which some people think it's sometimes surprising because it's getting very cold there, right? There's lots of snow, but actually, I think Sweden, Finland, they hit like the 70% mark of EV adoption this year. So we are really getting there. And to the point, if you as an individual are ready for going electric, I think you just have to try it. Because this is what I did. You know, when I moved to the Midwest, in the very beginning, we had a combustion engine car because like that was a couple years ago. And then there was not many options. And we just thought, okay, let's start with ICE. But then we gradually shifted. So the first car that I got was the Ford Mustang Mach-E. I started using it as a daily driver. I started understanding how to charge it at home. Then we did first road trips. We just, you know, started doing it and understanding what it means. And after a half a year, we were quite confident that this is for us. Even the road trips that we do here in the Midwest. So I live in Milwaukee and we go a lot to Michigan, to Detroit. These are like 8-hour rides. So really a longer road trips, and it really works for us. You know, the charging infrastructure could be better in some areas, but it's not to the point that you cannot do it. So for us, after half a year trying it, we're like, okay, yeah, but it's good for us. It works. We don't need the ICE car. We sold it. Now we have the F-150 Lightning truck, which I recently also shared a 1-year review for people that are interested. So I really went into all the details. How are we charging? How are we doing the road trips? How are we planning this? Where do you find a charger? How does the solar work here in the Midwest? So I think I would just encourage people to look into it, see if it works for you in the area where you live, for your lifestyle. And I think a lot of people would be surprised that it actually works for them.
Yeah. That's great to hear. Just try it. I love that. I love that attitude, and so I think you've convinced me just to give it a shot. And that's really encouraging too, to hear that you know, the range levels are where that we need them to be. That you've had some really good experiences on road trips and feel like, you know, the infrastructure is set up, you know, pretty well to just allow us to do, you know, what we want to do. And of course, always room for improvements and more infrastructure to support that. But great to hear that, you know, even now today, that there is that necessary infrastructure to allow you to do what you want to do. And that's really, I think, important to note, too. And I appreciate you sharing that there's not going to be just some huge development or huge breakthrough 6 months or a year from now that we've really kind of refined the technology to where it needs to be now, so that individuals like yourself can get out and enjoy the benefits of going electric, you know, even today. So that's really nice to hear. Yeah. Do you find that as an EV owner, that there's kind of a community of other EV owners? I know there's certainly a Lightning community, you know, within kind of that overall community, but would love, you know, any insights or experiences in terms of kind of, you know, the EV community that you've seen since becoming an EV owner yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, like 1 year ago, here in the Midwest, I didn't see a lot of electric cars. It was such a rare occasion that you would actually see one, right? But I have to say, we now see more and more here in the Midwest. And anytime we see an electric car, we are waving to each other. You will not believe it, but people get so excited, like especially when we see another F-150 Lightning truck or a Mach-E. Like everybody is waving to us and we're waving and everybody is getting excited. And another thing about the community, and this is something that I want to recommend to individuals that might think about going electric too, go to a charging station and talk to the people that come there. Because this is another thing, you know, you spend a little bit of time at a charging station, maybe 10, 20 minutes. You know, some people go eat something, but some people also stay in the car. And it's just so much fun because there is new cars coming in. You see all the different cars. You talk to people. How do you like your EV? And you share your experience. So this is just great. Yes, there is definitely a community and it's fun to be part of it.
That's really cool. Well, so going EV, it's not just kind of the right thing to do. It's a good thing for the environment, but it also sounds like a lot of fun. So I'm in. That sounds really cool. And there doesn't seem to be like really any kind of specific demographic, right? There's certainly communities within the EV community, but you can't just kind of like encapsulate or stereotype it into one type of person. I mean, one thing that I've noticed is that just it's all different types of people, different types of use cases. I even think of being here in Dallas, Texas. One might think that here in the South, I mean, we certainly love our trucks, and there's probably some stereotypes, of kind of Texans and that sort of thing. But gosh, we love EVs here in Texas, and a good friend of mine who's very Texan and wears a cowboy hat, about every other day, and cowboy boots, and has always owned trucks. But this good friend of mine has gone electric and is a Tesla owner now, and seems to absolutely love it, and is saving money because he has a pretty significant commute. And so he's really enjoyed just the cost savings of it. And, switching from a truck to a Tesla has a lot of fun. And I've taken a few rides with him, and it is a lot of fun. So all that being said, it doesn't seem like EV is a certain demographic. It seems like really there's application for all different types of people and all different types of use cases.
Absolutely. And like I said, when you go to those charging stations, I mean, obviously not if you just go to a Tesla one, because then you will only see Tesla people. But if you go to Electrify America or something like this, where we're charging right now, you see all sorts of different people. You see older couples, you see younger women, you see families, you see everything. And I think people do it also for different reasons. Some of them are really believing very much into the environmental aspect, and they're doing it for that reason. Some of them are doing it for the acceleration and for the fun. So it's very, very different. Also, the trucks, I think, in the Midwest, there is also lots of trucks.
Yeah.
And we have a couple brands offering electric trucks, right? We have Ford. They electrified the F-150, which is like the number one sold car for the past 40 years. So that was a huge, huge thing. Then we have the Rivian, which their brand is kind of, they want to address those maybe hipster, outdoorsy people that want to camp and stuff. Then we have the Tesla Cybertruck. Again, completely different brand and attracting a very, very different people.
Yeah.
So it's just exciting to see that happening.
It is. Oh, it's incredible. It is a lot of fun. Yeah. I really, really love that. So there's really an EV model, for everyone out there, and even more so, I know, over the next couple of months with the Cybertruck, as you mentioned, and some others. So that's really, really cool.
I just think one thing that I would like to see is a real family car. I would like to see now a brand offering like a big family car where you can fit a lot of kids.
Yes.
I think this is missing right now in the EV space.
Definitely. I agree 100%. I'd love to see that too. That's for sure. Well, we're going to make it happen. The industry seems like they really are just developing something for everyone. So, that's very true. So, well, as I shared, Veronika, you're involved in so much. I think as you've shared with the audience here today, I really love the consulting practice, and I've had the opportunity to hear, some stories of some organizations that have worked with you, and you really just offer some incredible, benefits. And so I'm just a big fan of your consulting practice, and really, recommend any organizations, audience members out there that are really looking to get more into the EV space, that are looking to get more into battery technologies, definitely to reach out to Veronika, because she'll be a tremendous asset and really kind of helping you transition and kind of expand, in some of those other places. So I appreciate you talking a little bit about the consulting practice, and I love all of the content that you produce. You're such a thought leader within the industry, and so I definitely want to also encourage everyone to check out your website, check out your YouTube channel, check out your book, read that Drive to Electric. It's incredible. And so I know, all that being said, there's a lot of people out there, a lot of organizations that are going to be really, really excited to partner with you and your organization. And many audience members now are probably checking out some of these YouTube videos, as we speak, with the interview even going on. But for individuals out there that aren't yet familiar, with your organization, haven't seen any of your videos, would you mind maybe first directing the audience to your website where they can learn more?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the website is electrifiedveronika.com. Veronica with a K, very important.
Yes. Yes.
And from there you can get pretty much everywhere. But the others, so the main social media platforms that I'm active on would be YouTube. It's again Electrified Veronika. I also do TikTok and Instagram where it's EV Veronika. But as soon as you start Googling Electrified Veronika, you will get to the sources. And yeah, the book that you mentioned, it's on Amazon. I self-published it. So yeah.
Very good. Very good. And I understand too, as if that's not enough, you also, as demonstrated today, you are an incredible public speaker and communicator. And I understand too that you're also, very open to kind of initiating change and awareness in the industry and open to speaking at conferences and events, as I understand as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know if it's the fact that I have lots of teachers in my family, but I really enjoy talking and educating. So I'm trying to use every chance, be it, in a technical conference or in a more public event, just, sharing the projects that we're working on, or also working with organizations like, the last one that I did was Texas Instruments to kind of talk about their product launch that they had at CES, where they had launched a new battery management system. It's a lot of fun for me because I have this technical background, the industry understanding, and then I enjoy just sharing these new technologies with different companies, be it startups, be it more established companies, and getting this thought leadership and the real facts again out there.
Yes. Well, you've done that today. You've really separated, facts from fiction, and I really appreciate you doing that. You've educated me along the way too. You've convinced me that I need to go electric, and I need to just go ahead and do it now and just give it a try, as you shared. And this idea of kind of connecting to that community and chatting around charging stations and things like that, really appeals to me. So I think that's really cool. So mission accomplished on that as well. And it is you're incredible, and it's such a skill, I think, for an individual that has a PhD in technical physics to not only have that level of understanding and technical knowledge, but also to be able to convey things and to educate, to someone like me that certainly doesn't have a PhD in technical physics. So that is definitely a skill that you have, and I know one that you bring to any speaking engagement, that you have. So I know there'll be a lot of organizations interested in exploring that as well. So again, really just appreciate you taking the time to stop by today, Veronika, and to chat within the Are We There Yet series. So thank you so much for doing that. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yes. Well, good. Well, good to hear. Well, I'll be watching your projects closely, as I know the audience members will. So best of luck to you, your organization, and I look forward to talking more soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.